Maybe we're talking to him today. You never know.
Tell me more.
It's nothing to see breasts in a painting or a sculpture.
Because who has space for a sculpture?
It's really not taboo.
Because I think a lot of people conflate nudity to pornography. We need to just have like a open playing field. We're like, it's just a penis. It's just an elbow. It's just, a nipple. Not. I'm a big goof, but I've got big boobs and I've got like a shape. So the moment I hop on social media, people are like, oh, wonderful. And then it's like, gets very OnlyFansy very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm not, it's not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Oh, you've changed my social media. It's art. There's lots of beautiful things. I do still find that they are not particularly indicative of the traditional human body, right? Hey, none.
That too. I wonder if you have to try out to be like have your breast showcased.
Women don't touch themselves. Good girls don't touch themselves. Because I really do want women to look at themselves and be like, I'm that one, and get like excited and proud about it. Yeah. It's through the male gaze, like it's through the men's eye of either we are attractive and beautiful and there for our looks, or the art has some sort of connection to our sinfulness.
I just want to know what it looks like. Anyway,
and we carry on.
Let's talk about breasts.
Let's talk about you and me.
Let's talk about all the good things
and all the bad things.
Welcome to episode 49 of Boobs Podcast. I'm your breast friend, Jaleesa.
I'm Chantel.
And we're here to bring you some more conversations about breasts while breasts are a breast. So you know that we talked about breasts being a little more taboo in certain situations in our last episode and other episodes as well. So this time we want to talk about a time where it's really not taboo. And we're going to dive into that. But first, we got to take it to the BoobTube streets. So let's see what BoobTube on the Move has to say.
Can you name a piece of art that brings breasts to mind?
A piece of art that brings breasts to mind? No.
What are your thoughts on breasts in art?
Breasts in art, creativity, because we can wear them low, we can wear them high, we can wear them pushed together, we can open the breast in certain styles, different bras. So, okay.
I don't think I could name an artist that talked about breasts or brought it to life either, but I do know that they exist with the sculptures and the paintings.
Yeah.
I just couldn't name them.
Yeah. Not at the top of my head. I just feel like I visualize sculptures and I can think of some paintings, but nothing stands out.
No, I don't even know if there's a particular artist who specifically focused on breasts. There might be one out there.
Maybe we're talking to him today. You never know. So, I like how the lady said creative because artists are definitely creative. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that was pretty accurate, of course.
And also, and creative in how the breast can show up. I think that's what she was alluding to as well, because you talked about it separating them and putting them together. But I guess in art, you can definitely manipulate the breast however you want them.
That is true. So, yeah, with art, it's definitely not taboo because I feel like it's nothing to see breasts in a painting or a sculpture, especially back in the day. They said especially during the Middle Ages and Renaissance era. One thing that I did learn was that a lot of it ties into breastfeeding, which you do think about it. You've seen sculptures and paintings where a woman's holding a baby with her boob out or breastfeeding a baby. And I didn't know that was because, it's linked to, of course, their nurturing and everything, but then it links to Christianity where it's breastfeeding the child. It turns out that the breastfeeding in the art has to do with links to Christianity, with nurturing the child and basically spreading God and Christianity through the breastfeeding. So
interesting.
Yeah, something new I didn't know.
But it's natural. God gave us that.
Right. This is how you keep humanity alive. It's all a part of humanity, one of the most natural things ever. So
Yeah.
it's good that it's represented and celebrated in art.
Yeah.
Heavily.
Yeah. And it's also, I mean, just breasts in general. It's a statement. You know, art in itself is a statement. But when you add breasts to it, I found one artist who depicted. Let me try to remember her name. She depicted my immigrants bare-breasted as a way to make a statement. It's called Boob Gold. I'm not gonna pronounce it correctly. Have Karaman's Boob Gold piece. Yeah, it's a woman just bare breast, and she's an immigrant. So it's just a way of people expressing themselves through art. And of course, I'm pretty sure if we look all throughout history, we're going to see a whole bunch of representation of women. I won't say revolting, but you know, because they can claim to their rights. And I'm pretty sure breast is going to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that historically, when we talked about, how the woman was viewed historically in our previous episode, but historically, it was seen as a symbol of fertility and nourishment and beauty. So that's why it was showcased in art to celebrate womanhood. Yeah. And here we are.
Something else that comes to mind, you talked about the nurturing and fertility. There's the other side of it when women are at war and they're bare breasts.
Yeah. That's kind of some woman king stuff.
Yeah, there's an image out there like that too. But I think when I'm thinking about some of the things, it's along those lines where women are fighting bare breasts.
But maybe it did take place.
Yeah.
We weren't there.
No.
Say that it didn't.
And again, this is just art. It could be some thoughts, but there are different levels to the women, women's lives and what the breasts represent in each life. And I think that's just a testament to how women are across the board.
Yeah, strong.
Absolutely. Strong and feeding the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let her.
And ferocious.
Yes. Don't let her catch you with a sword in her hand.
Right. I saw that there are some famous breasts in history. Some I haven't heard of, but of course they mentioned the Amazons and Aphrodite and someone else named Ishtar. I don't know who that is personally. Then they had some other artists, art from India and Japan. There was a Joe Spence who wrote on their breast property, Joe Spence. And yeah, some others that I never heard of. I didn't know they were famous breasts in art.
Yeah.
I guess they are.
Interesting. Famous breasts in art.
More than breasts could be famous, but hey.
If they make hands famous,
you're right.
I want people have to try out for that too. I wonder if you have to try out to be have your breast showcased.
Yeah, not perfect. Yeah, don't like areolas. Who knows what they say?
That reminds me, I did see a photo of. We had an episode on this too with hair on the breast. There was one that was that was the focus.
The hair on the breast.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably a work of art.
Yeah, it was.
I also saw where they talked about in the 1960s and 70s here in America they had a lot of pictures showing men looking. They were advertising X-ray vision through these glasses. I don't know why, but the picture was hilarious, and it shows a man just looking at two women talk, but in his X-ray vision, which is cut out in the image, he's just looking at the women naked, they're fully dressed, but he addressed them with his eyes.
I mean, that's a real thing that happens.
That is true. That is true, because men be like, I just want to know what it looks like. Anyway,
yeah,
men are creeps.
And we carry on.
I've said it a million times before. Men are creeps. So here we are. But yeah, again, I just like the fact that, or I might not have ever really thought about the fact that that's the only time it's not taboo when breasts are in art.
Yeah, because I remember taking my children to the art museum, and we're walking around seeing things, and I didn't like shield them away from it. You definitely see naked people in art.
And even like I mentioned before, the movie Love Actually, but the guy at the art gallery and the kids were laughing because there was a painting, well not a painting, but some artwork where they had like Santa hats on the nipples, and they were laughing. He's like it's not funny, it's art, whatever. So you can also find that on a Bluetooth sweatshirt. Just saying. But yeah, so it's some people, of course, some kids might laugh at her or something, but it's art.
It is. But I think too, if, going back to culture, if you see it frequently, it doesn't seem, I guess, weird or out of the normal for you.
Kind of reminds me of breastfeeding in other cultures. Like here, it's a whole thing. It's very normal.
Yeah.
Because that's how we are created in this world.
Exactly.
All right, so we've given our take on breast in history, but we want art history.
There you go, because art is history.
Yeah, so we've given our take on breast and art, and we hope that you've enjoyed it. However, we have someone who's going to give their take on breast and art as well that, can give us some more that we don't know. So let's see what our guest has to say.
Okay, so joining the conversation about breast and art, we have Mimi with Mimi. So welcome to YouTube officially.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. Okay, so can you tell us how you got started with Mimi?
Yeah, okay. So the business started because I've had trauma, like body trauma, all my life. I grew up as a dancer, and looking at yourself in the mirror in a ballet school, thinking and picking apart all the stuff that's wrong with your body, like dance is inherently, psychologically sort of negative when we're looking at it in a competition kind of space, right? Dance is not like that in all of its forms. But for me, I was trying to compare my body and had a lot of stuff going on when I was about 9. And that's continued throughout my life. And then having boobs early and trying to hide it because you want to be like everybody else. And I grew up with elementary school with like tons of boys. So there was 20 kids in my class. 3 to 5 of us were women, were girls. So I had really good friends that were boys, and I didn't want to be different, right? So I would like wear baby clothes and I would bind. So those two things really impacted me, and I lost my grandmother to breast cancer. She was in her late 70s. That was about 15 years ago. But she had a tumor that was so big, it was 17 by 5. And so clearly she wasn't doing that self exam, right? Because women of that age were told, like, women don't touch themselves, good girls don't touch themselves.
Right.
So we need to change that idea. And I have a little girl who's 9, and I thought, oh my God, this is when my body stuff started. This is, bless you. This is generally when so many people start and find their body trauma or something that really starts to impact them. And so I thought, I want to make art that's a little bit more tangible than the dance theater art that sort of finishes when it's done, right? I wanted something that I could hold in my hands. And I wanted to be able to show changes in women's bodies. I wanted to be an advocate for breast health so that we can all talk about this before I'm bringing my best friend to cancer treatment. So like that's sort of the reason that I started doing a lot of this. I was inspired by Lydia Reeves, who's in the UK, who does these beautiful, she started with vulva casts and then started doing breast casts. And I thought, that's so cool. So I started doing it, and then people started getting interested. And now this is what I do.
I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you for taking me through the journey, like from start to finish. I really like that. And
Brevity is not my strong suit, so I will talk a lot. You'll have to rein me in.
the dance and the mirrors, that's definitely true. There's mirrors all around. And I never heard of a class where there were like that many more boys than girls, but
yeah, it's odd.
Yeah. So, well, you talked about how you got started into creating art out of breast, and you said you started with the sculptures. Well, the
Mhm.
cast is cast of
Yeah,
sculpture.
so I started with casting, and it was just something that I was like, oh, let's try this. So it ends up being a shell cast, and I've always been pretty creative, but this was allowed me to like touch it and hold it. Been super therapeutic. So I started working and just buying small kits and trying to figure that out and asking friends if they'd be my model, because you can't. It's hard to do it on yourself because you'd have to breathe and move and stuff. Um, yeah, so that just started happening, and then I started using 3D technology to resize stuff and make smaller versions of things so that more people could get in on the excitement. It's not everybody wants a full cast of themselves. Um, I get it. Like sculpture is one of the hardest mediums to sell, because who has space for a sculpture? Yeah, so I think that's we're just sort of meandering through what people want and how to have people like how it would manifest with themselves. So I'm trying to make things that people identify with.
I love it. So, you do have like you studied some art as well.
I studied art in so much as I studied dance and theater. So drama, dance. I have a master's in dance education, and taught at several universities throughout Canada and the States, actually. I was in Northern Michigan for a while, and that was quite something. The dance group and then like the duck hunting group beside me. It was it was amazing. So yeah, I did most of my art and interest in that through different forms of performative art. And then my aunt is a professional artist, and so I've just seen her go through all of her processes, and I've always sort of been there on the sidelines looking at what she's doing and helping her out with that. She does more collage art.
Yeah.
So I've always been aware of it, but I'm not trained technically in the fine art space.
Got it. So, based on your knowledge with growing up, like what do you see that is taught in education about breast and art?
None. I squeaked. I honked, I think, at your question. Yeah, I grew up in a Catholic school, so there was not a time where nude art was really talked about, because I think a lot of people conflate nudity to pornography, and I think that definitely is not something we see.
Right.
Art in general that I have seen in any European trips or talking about art history from a very colonial perspective has, of course, been Renaissance paintings and all of these different paintings from different times that center females in a like lean, high, small boobs.
Yeah.
It's all sort of the same. Otherwise, we've got cherub-like women who, again, have small, perky breasts compared to even if they're a little bit larger, but they're all through this lens of whiteness. So it's just these like cherub-like women that look like me, which we only see this colonial structure through a Western
Right.
gaze. And then from there, we also look at it and we go, it's through the male gaze, like it's through the men's eye of either we are attractive and beautiful and there for our looks, or the art has some sort of connection to our sinfulness, right? So snakes and other things that will remind us of our original sin because we are the ones who did it. So I have a lot to say about particular art that we see that is from a white centered, male centered space.
I think also what we found was that a lot of it focused on breastfeeding too, with what we see in art historically from
Yeah.
breast. It is still, like you said, like from a male gaze, and it's typically always like the same type of like body style and breast size, breast shape, and everything, less realistic of what that might look like after having a child or just obviously
Or
doing.
before having a child, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many women that I've seen that they have asymmetrical breasts. They have sort of like a more relaxed breast, or what people would say a droopy breast.
Yeah.
That's realistic for anyone who's gone through weight gain, who's just gone through puberty, who's gone through anything. So it's really fascinating to see that we also talk about, everything happens after when they're less sexy and they're
Yeah.
breastfeeding. But even breastfeeding is highly regulated again in most spaces. So
That's the whole other thing. Breastfeeding. I think about I recently wore one of our YouTube shirts that says community. So it has
yeah,
a whole bunch of different breasts on there. And what I didn't think about prior to having the shirt was that people would use it as kind of like a reference chart. So
ah,
and women, so the women are like, my breasts kind of look like that. And like, yeah, these look like my breasts. And then even guys are like, oh, breasts like this, but like nipples like this. And I was just like, this is a whole little reference chart here for people. But I like it because it did like invoke conversation about breast and the different breast types and styles. Guess we could.
absolutely. No, I think that's so wonderful. There is a wonderful human who runs Candle Tit,
Yeah,
and she's fantastic, and she has her diversities
yeah,
sweatshirt t-shirts, and so I find it amazing. I love that there's so much representation and that there's more boob art in the world now, especially now that you're seeing it, yeah, at like a more home, like a housewares kind of thing, right? We're seeing a lot more candles and we're seeing a lot more sort of planters and body shapes in that way. I do still find that they are not particularly indicative of the traditional human body, right? There's one sort of archetype that we're slowly letting into our homes, which is a
yeah,
start. But there's one thing that I will say about the line drawings. The line drawings make it difficult because first of all, I think they're useful, right? I think that it's really useful for people to see themselves and see other people and to be able to talk about that and to invite conversation. But I also find it kind of makes us probably less excited to be like, I'm this one, I'm that one, and to identify with something that's 2D, right? We're still making women into these 2D structures of line drawings instead of seeing the robustness of what our breasts look like, right?
yeah,
And what that actually looks like. Um, but we got to get somewhere, right? And so it's, at least we're having these conversations and starting, because I really do want women to look at themselves and be like, I'm that one, and get like excited and proud about it.
yeah. I did like that. Um, are there any trends that you're currently seeing now when it comes to breast and art?
I hate trends for bodies. I think it's terrible. Because trends just mean that, somebody's making money off of things. But I think that trends in art, I think we're seeing, if we're talking fine art, I think we're seeing a lot more of openness and different representations. We're seeing a lot of different bodies and different sizes and colors, things that are a little bit more abstract and cubist. It's really nice to see. There's just more of it, and it's not the similar Renaissance-y sameness that we've had before. But again, I also see that there is just more interest if you look at Etsy and like those kinds of,
Sure.
there's fine art and then there's that housewares art and Etsy art and things like this that people are making. You're seeing more opportunities to paint your own booty and do things more with the female body. You're seeing more opportunities for like earrings and pins and like and line drawings, things like this, mugs. I saw a boob mug recently, which I think is art, right? In the sort of more ceramic space, and
Yeah.
it's a boob, and the drinking hole is from the nipple.
Yeah.
Seeing people, it's hilarious, but it's making people either laugh, which is good in some ways because then you can actually start talking about it from a place of fun,
Yeah.
or it's inviting conversation that people are getting really upset about. But either way, art is supposed to invoke feeling. So we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
And this just made me randomly think about when I went to Indonesia, and I feel like sometime recently someone explained something to me where I was like, oh, that makes sense. But they had like a lot of penis art, like penis bottle openers, penis incense holder, like everything. I was just penis keychains. So I was just like, why do we have so much penis stuff around here? But I think that it was about I don't know if it was fertility, but it was something. I'll have to refresh my memory on it. But
Yeah.
like just to think that that's something that can be like so open there, like normal to see penis shaped items like these, that's art. And so I'm glad that we're bringing breast into it too. So we have breast art, breast mugs. I'm sure there could be breast incense holders and keychains and
I'm on it.
yeah,
Just making
yeah,
notes for like I need
yeah.
incense holder. Got it.
A breast incense holder, breast keychain, breast bottle opener. I'm trying to think of what else I saw that had the breast. I mean, breast mug for sure. I was thinking that the nipple would just kind of stick out on the side of the mug, but with it being the part that you drink at, well, you said it was it a mug still that had
It
the
was a
nipple?
mug, yeah, and it had like a large. I'll have
Oh,
to. It's yeah, because you've seen the regular ones, right?
yeah,
That just are like it's on the outside of the actual drinking space, and then you drink normally. But
yeah,
this one, because anything boob related, people
yeah,
will send me, right? Like, have you seen this? Yes, it's wonderful or hilarious, or I want to have a big, deep conversation about this.
yeah.
But somebody recently sent me one of the boob mugs, right, drinking from the nipple, which I mean just looked hard to do to actually enjoy the fluid, but
I
it
could
was
see
fun.
that at like an event, and if it was like related to that, and everyone had these breast cups, I think that would look so cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Drinking
It's
out of
funny because I would love to get to a point where, breasts and nipples are the same thing as in conversation as like an elbow.
yeah,
I want to normalize this so much because we're either sexualized or vilified.
yeah,
Uh, and we need to just have like a open playing field. We're like, it's just a penis, it's just an elbow, it's just, a nipple.
soon we'll have vagina mugs.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. There's so much more. And that's one thing that I didn't understand. My generation, our generation, like there was a lot of talk about boob jobs and breast implants and things like this when we were younger.
Yeah,
And still do. And some of that is gender affirming surgery. Sometimes that's just gender affirming surgery for someone who feels like a female inside the body of you've been born into a female body. But there just isn't that femaleness yet. And so I find there's so many really interesting conversations about just looking the way you do feel in your head,
right.
which is really incredible. But at the same time, there's just so much conversation. I've lost my thought there because that's such an interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
It'll
But
come.
sorry,
I said it'll come back.
it will come back. I'm sure it will.
Um, and now I think like when I said that there will be vagina mugs soon, it made me think about. Have you heard of the company, the Honey Pot? Oh wait, did the thought come back?
The thought came back, yeah, because
Oh,
vaginoplasty is such a thing now, right? So there's so many people that are actually thinking about this. And like, I'm trying to wonder what this next generation is thinking of and what conversations and what they're bringing into their heads that say, even before they're sexually active, like, how does it get to the point where someone is thinking about the look of their labia and
yeah,
requiring that kind of surgical connection? So all of it goes back to like a psychological place for me,
yeah,
thinking when and how and what is contributing to the fact that we think we need some sort of product or service or surgery to enhance the natural things in on our bodies. Like it makes my heart hurt that people don't think they're enough.
yeah, for sure. I'm with you. Be natural over here. I mean, like I know everyone teach their own, and if there's like TLC TLC said about being unhappy. Like you can go get that fixed if you want to. So hey, no, not me. But
can we get like the TLC Bible? That
right.
would be
Like I'll always,
everybody in silk pajamas.
yeah, of course. That's a I was gonna say with the vaginas, I think about the company, the Honey Pot Co. Are you familiar with them?
Not. Tell me more.
So they have like all the feminine products as far as like pads, tampons, feminine wash and everything, but it's all like clean products. And if you look at their socials, they have different like comic sketches and it's with actual vaginas. Like it's like little stick, not stick, like it's a vagina with some stick legs and arms and a little face. And I like that because that makes it kind of normalized too. But I mean,
Okay.
it's also what they're focused on. So you should
Yeah.
be able to openly talk about vaginas as well.
Yeah.
So I just thought about that with art as well. So
I gotta check that out. Now I've got to make. I'm gonna put my breast casts and with the little arms and legs and make them talk. Now you've changed my social media. It's
yeah,
wonderful.
I'll give you ideas for sure.
I love it.
And speaking of social media, how would you say that it has impacted breast and art, or have you seen it impact?
I'm really not sure. I feel like I'm sort of on the cusp of all of these different areas. And I don't necessarily think of myself as a fine artist or um, all of these different areas. I'm just sort of an advocate for humans and body normalizing. But social media is a tough place because of all of the filters, AI, all of these opportunities to either like highly exacerbate the female experience as a hypersexual and the woman's experience as a hypersexual experience, or we're boring moms with deflated boobs,
Yeah.
or it's just so there's so many dichotomies that it's a problem, and I do see so many women, especially in the bra space, especially in fuller busts, whose accounts are just being deleted, and they're coming on so much more like censorship than some other bodies because of their size. So I think that there's a lot of bias in who holds the keys to the kingdom, being Meta and and
Yeah.
other spaces. So I think that there's the bias, and I think it's harmful and difficult, especially for plus size creators or those of us who look a little curvier.
Yeah.
We are then it's more suggestive somehow, which is not like I'm a big goof, but I've got big boobs and I've got like a shape. So the moment I hop on social media, people are like, oh, wonderful. And then it's like gets very OnlyFansy very quickly. And
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I mean, all power to people who want to go in that direction. Like, do it, get the money, do take advantage of the process, right? But I do find that there are, some friends just talking about breast health and what bras fit them well and all of these kind of things, and they're being taken down from
Yeah.
social media. And I think they are art, right? They are themselves this piece of art, and society in social media is telling them that they don't fit and
Yeah.
giving them all these barriers. And I think as women, that's a really, really hard thing, and it impacts how we are going to be able to art. If you are more traditionally beautiful, your account isn't as censored usually, and that's a problem for me.
That happens to us too, even with just booty posts, like
Right?
interviews, and some of ours are taken down. It's like you're talking, like looking like this.
Yeah, here. I've
So,
had some of mine taken down, but then when and my account's really small, but at the same time, like when I talk about it or when they give me feedback and I said, can you review it? Usually they come back and say, yours is for a cause. So because a lot of my material is made for empowerment or for art, which says in the community guidelines, right? But their definition of art is like a piece of something rather than a photograph, which again is art. There's lots of beautiful things that are showing different kinds of bodies. And it's just depending on how, like, what is the small box that you define art as? So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
This is really art and everything. So,
Oh.
but speaking of feedback, like what is the feedback that you get from your art that you make?
It's been so beautiful. um, it's truly like just, or how do the kiddos do it? My fingers don't do it.
Wait, hold on.
Not long enough or something. I don't know. It has been so beautifully powerful. Women have come up to me who have gone through wars, have ravaged their bodies with cancer, have been given diagnoses 3 or 4 times throughout their life from when they were 16 and now they're 40 and they've done this 4 times with different cancers. These women have looked at me and said, I hate my body a little bit less because of the experience that we went through, the experience of casting and then seeing themselves outside of themselves.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's success for me. I don't really care about commercial success, but if I can help women individually and then as a community find just more comfort and knowledge in their own bodies and pay attention to it and be aware of our bodies, that's all I can do, right? Finding more joy and understanding that you are enough is and has been truly, truly so life-changing. It's overwhelming how when people have these conversations, first of all, they share so much with me while I am doing the process with them and stuff that they've never told anyone, right? First of all, they're showing me themselves in this naked form. And some of them it's like, only my husband has ever seen me like this. And they're nervous and they're scared and they're brave and they're courageous. And then they're telling me about like the stuff that really made trauma in their life and they've been hanging on to on their own, right? If we start sharing this, we are not alone because every single woman who I've encountered has a story like this. Somebody's aunt said something about their arms when they were 12 and they've covered them up ever since. Or, offhanded comments from some kid who now this impacts this 60 or 70-year-old woman who's continuing to wander around the earth because of somebody 50 years ago and an offhanded comment that they said. This stuff sticks with us, and that's so important that we address and we talk about and we let the shame go and we celebrate these bodies that just need to be normalized and found beautiful in their own form. And it's so overwhelming. I get really excited about it because I love so much what I do. Yeah.
I'm loving it. I love that you have these emotions towards it because hey, you're operating your purpose and you're doing what you love and doing what helps other people. And I'm here for it for sure.
Oh my, I was so scared of leaving my corporate job a couple of years ago. And I'm so thankful that I get to do this on a regular basis, connect with women, have these conversations. We're adding more movement in so that I'm going back to like my dance roots and we're going to do some more classes about like, really standing in your own truth and understanding what your body says because we have this, it sounds like quirky and woo woo, but like you have this internal knowing, right? You have this gut reaction, like listen to your gut is a real thing. Your body will give you responses for something that is like, nope, nope, don't do that, right? You know that.
Intuition.
That intuition, like you need to pay attention to that intuition and make space to say no in spaces where you feel safe and comfortable, to practice saying no. Because when you, or if you are ever in a situation where you need to say no and it's life or death, or very high stakes, you're able to exercise that no a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of work we got to do. We got to do it all together and support each other. And
we're all in this together, like we said.
Oh my God,
so, oh wait, what were you saying?
Nothing at all.
Okay. I thought I might have accidentally cut you off. Sorry. I was gonna ask, where would you like to, you just talked about, being able to leave your corporate job and everything. And where would you like to see your work in the next 5 years?
It's like a it's like an interview question. I would love to see my work in in some galleries. I would love to see my work there throughout any spaces. I don't care if it's a large gallery or a small gallery. I just want people to see it. I want people to talk about it. I would love to connect with, bra fitters and smaller spaces and retailers about showing real opportunities, like real bodies instead of line drawings, right? So that you get to know what cups are going to work better for you and what underwires, or you're looking for a thinner underwire or a more narrow or a wide one. Like I just want, again, women to get to know their bodies. So I'd love to see my work in bra shops so that you can better understand what a fuller on the bottom cup looks like, or someone with more fullness on the top, or wide set breasts, or nipples that look inverted, because again, those things are normal. So I'd love that. If NYX or any other larger bra companies, Panache, get at me, like all of these places who are interested in showing that to a wider audience. Cancer societies and raising money and advocating for better healthcare, better mammograms and screenings. There's so many little areas for my art to go, and I'm excited to see sort of all of that grow. So not in one direction, but sort of just like expand.
Yeah, I love that. So, we like to end on a positive note, and we would love to have your breast advice.
My breast advice.
Yes, the words of positivity that you would like to share with the audience. Anything that comes to mind.
My words of positivity. It's okay. It's a pun that it's in workshop. My words of positivity are: you are perfect the way that you are, which sounds so trite and ridiculous. You're like such a cop out, but you truly are. Like your body tells this story of where you've been, who you are, the journey that you're on. So if you can look at yourself with some compassion and look at those stretch marks and look at that scar and look at this beautiful story that your body is now telling, like the story of your skin, I really wish people would embrace it and and just love themselves and trust themselves a little bit more. But get your mammograms and figure out what breast density you are. Those are my words of positivity. It's just find the joy in your body.
For sure. I like that. Find a joy in your body. Can you share where people can find you?
Oh, of course. So you can find me at withmimi.ca because I am Canadian. I am kind of between Detroit and Toronto. So if you want, I also travel. So if you want to see me there, you can follow me on Instagram at underpinnings with Mimi as well. So again, I travel, I come to places, we can do sessions and hand things back over here. I'm often in Toronto. I might be in Boston maybe in the fall, and there's a couple other US places that I would love to go visit. And out in Houston, there's some fun stuff and some fun bra stores and friends that I've made there. So who knows if I can come over to your neck of the woods and we can hang out.
So in your town.
Yeah.
We have that Southern hospitality. We're always
yes. I'm so into it. And big hair.
Yes. So, thanks again for joining and dropping all of these gems that you did. I enjoyed hearing it for sure. And it is like such a taboo topic that people don't talk about like that, just breast and art. And I know you said like I gave you some ideas. You gave me some ideas too. So I'm gonna have to marinate on those and start planning things.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, we're all in this together.
We are so all in this together. So we are the breast supporters of one another. Fun all day. I'm sorry. Just cut me off. I need like the big scooper to get me off stage.
No, you're fine. We say all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, alrighty. Well, thank you again for joining. It's been a blast. And we can't wait to see more from Mimi.
Yeah.
Yay,
Thanks so much.
of course. Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode, and thank you to our special guests for adding value to this. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and also join us on Patreon for as little as $1 to support. And we're going to continue to support you as we talk about our next episode coming up, where we are going to be talking about adjusting post-surgery, breast surgery, that is. And in the meantime, go to boobtubepodcast.net and shop merch. See ya.